Us from COVID at the border now is considered racist. Wow. Republican Congressman Michael McCaul of Texas, ranking member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and member of the House Homeland Security Committee. Great to have you in focus today, Congressman. Let's start there. Let's start with the difficult, nasty part. The part that says we're in the middle of COVID, but it doesn't count if you're at the border. And if it's not working to shut down Title 42, we'll call you a racist.
It's just like, look, we're debating a $10 billion COVID relief package in Congress right now. The idea that we're going to lift Title 42 and let all these people in, we don't know anything about them. Some are on the terrorist watch list. Secretary couldn't even tell us where those people are. And many of them could be infected with COVID. What kind of COVID relief package is this? Harris, this is just insanity. It's absolute insanity. And I've worked on the border as a federal prosecutor since 9/11, as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, and now my position on foreign affairs. I've never seen it this bad. I'm a pretty nice guy, but I have to say, I took it to the secretary yesterday. His own policy director for Immigration Border Security said that the records are now going to skyrocket, that it'll be the highest ever recorded because what? They rescinded the Migrant Protection Protocol program and remain in Mexico. Self-inflicted wound, and it's hurting a lot of people. I have a Texas National Guardman dead, rescuing 2 narco traffickers, for God's sakes. And he is complicit. And this administration is complicit with that. And also the fentanyl's coming in that can kill the entire American population 7 times over. Enough's enough.
You know, when you talk about being a nice guy, you saw Mayorkas, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, garnering some tough talk yesterday from Republican leadership. And he wanted an apology. How rich is that?
Very. I think he should give an apology to the family of Bishop Evans, who died at the border. He should give an apology to, my daughter's been to 4 funerals of high school friends who've died from fentanyls. He should give an apology to the criminals and the drug cartels coming into this country. He is creating a very dangerous situation at the border. He doesn't deserve an apology. He should give an apology to the American people. And I told him point blank, when you went down to the Border Patrol turned their backs on you because, in their words, sir, Mr. Secretary, you've turned your backs on them.
And the term Benedict Arnold, just real quickly, your thoughts on that from some of the constituents of congressmen like yourself.
Well, look, I've known this guy for, when I chaired Homeland Security, Secretary Jay Johnson under Obama, at least he was respected. He was honest. This guy, quite frankly, he's not a leader. He doesn't, really tell the truth. And, I think what he's doing to this country, and he's just following orders, right? But it's absolutely ripping this country. And how are we going to absorb 2.5 million people into this country?
How?
And you and I have talked about this before. When Title 42 is lifted, it'll be 500,000 people in 5 weeks. I don't know. And they'll have no legal status, by the way. Biggest human trafficking event of our lifetime. What are we going to do with these people? I mean, they're going to be underground, right? They're going to be exploited. They are the victims, too. And they are complicit with this entire human trafficking, smuggling operation.
And that's an interesting point about it. I mean, for all the woke folk who say that they want to do so much for the downtrodden and the disadvantaged, you make an excellent point there. They're not even advocating for the people they say they care about. All right, let me move on. Senator Tim Scott calling out the Biden administration for its response to his urgent request for information on their plan to stem raging inflation. Senator Scott told the Daily Caller this administration either doesn't understand or is flat out denying the reality of our economy. The Biden blame game is an insult to the intelligence of every American. That's a quote. It comes as President Biden, again yesterday, attempted to downplay our nation's economic problems. Let's watch together, Congressman.
How concerned are you about a recession, given the GDP report today showed a contraction of 1.4% in the fourth quarter?
Well, I'm not concerned about a recession.
Wow. OK. The New York Post with this op-ed, stagflation is staring Biden in the face, but he refuses to change course. Why do you think he's not concerned about inflation or a recession? We just downgraded a quarter, 1.4% in our GDP. If we do that again, doesn't that equal a recession?
I think this guy just wants to put his head in the sand and ignore the nation's problems. And the thing is, inflation is real, gas prices are real. It reminds me so much of when I was growing up under Jimmy Carter in 1979. The parallels are extraordinary, and a country taken over by terrorists, by the way. And then he wants to blame it all on Russia, right? It's Russia's fault with Ukraine. All this started happening well before the invasion of Russia and Ukraine. He owns this. He can't walk away from it. He can't wish it away. And you know what, Harris? It's going to have a major, profound impact in the midterm elections.
Well, we know they're worried about that on the left. I mean, they're having disinformation governance panel put together because they're worried that people are going to hear the very words that you just said about accountability and who owns this. We'll move to this.
Exactly.
Senator Lindsey Graham went after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's claims that voters won't blame Biden for high gas prices. Watch.
I think the American people have had it with the Biden administration's policy on oil and gas. They ran a campaign based on the idea, if you put us in charge, we're going to destroy American fossil fuels. They have done it. They've shut down the Keystone Pipeline. They made it harder for refineries to operate. We're begging other countries around the world to produce more oil and gas because they can't do it here at home because they ran into the squad. He's to blame, not Putin.
All right, I want to go right back to the congressman on this. What's your response to what Senator Graham is saying?
Well, Lindsey's always spot on. I mean, one of the first acts the president does is shuts down the Keystone Pipeline. And then what does he do? He waives our congressionally mandated sanctions on Nord Stream 2, which is Putin's pipeline into Europe. For God's sakes, how is that in the national security interest of the United States to allow Europe to be dependent on Putin? Now there's buyer's remorse, right? Now Germany's like, wow, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But they created that situation where Europe is dependent on Russian energy, which, by the way, is a lot dirtier than our natural gas. We should have had LNG port terminals in Europe. We were the #1 exporter under the prior administration. Now we're not. Now the permits are not being approved. The Russians attack Colonial Pipeline through a cyber attack. Why do you think Putin is shutting off the Black Sea, choking Ukraine? It's all about energy. And he won the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And he wants a pipeline from Iran into the Mediterranean. I mean, people have to wake up. And this idea that we're going to transition off of, fossil fuels overnight is just absolutely a fantasy world.
Yeah, you know who even understands that is Elon Musk. Because remember an early tweet a few weeks ago, it may hurt his company, but he's like, well, look, his Tesla, his electric car company, look, I mean, we can't do this. We may have to produce our own. We're going to have to do some things to get through this moment. That was shortly after we stopped buying Russian oil, which still took more days than it probably should have.
Should have.
Yes. Congressman, always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
No, thanks, Harris. Thanks for having me.